All right, Tuesday night Krug Show. Raj is in the house. The NFL owners meeting's going on earlier today. Jed York spoke. Kyle Shanahan spoke. We'll talk about all the different headlines coming out of West Palm Beach. Let's talk a little Niners right here, right now. Let's go. All right, welcome to the Krug Show. Tuesday night, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. We're also brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles, 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove. Call Anthony Catania at 831-521-5264. And we are brought to you by Claw Daddy Arcades. They're a great follow on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades to find a Claw Daddy Arcade location near you. And last but certainly not least, the show is sponsored by LearnKey's Upskill Academy, an online learning platform designed to get you job ready in 6 months or less. Whether you're interested in IT, cybersecurity, marketing, or another high demand program or high demand field, they offer over 30 certification programs to help you take that next step in your professional career. They've been in business for 37 years. They have over 200,000 students. They've worked with over 800 students, or over 100 students are suited up with jobs at the end of each month. So courtesy of the program. So check them out. The links are in the description. And while you're leveling up your career with LearnKey's Upskill Academy, why not test your football brain as well? That's right. We're teaming up with LearnKey for a special April draft selection challenge. That's right. Where you can predict the top 12 picks in the upcoming 2025 NFL draft for a shot to win a $100 Visa gift card. It's totally free to enter. Just fill out the Google form linked in the description and your predictions for picks 1 through 12. So we're just picking the top 12. Entries will be graded based on how many correct player to pick matches you get. First place wins a $100 Visa gift card. Second place, a $50 Visa gift card. Both winners will get to come to the show during draft weekend. So hit that link, lock in your draft board, and let's see who really knows their stuff. Good luck, and big thanks to LearnKey Upskill Academy for sponsoring this episode of the Krug Show, and thanks to them. All right, we're off and running, Raj. Today, Jed York spoke. Kyle Shanahan spoke in West Palm Beach, and a number of things came out of today. I mean, it wasn't like there was tons and tons of information, but there was some today, and one of them was that it's pretty clear Jed York likes Brock Purdy, and they keep saying, "Hey, we're going to get it done with Brock Purdy," and there's really no real reason to think otherwise at this point. They seem very intent on getting the Purdy contract done, and I get the feeling that the Niners, that Brock Purdy badly wants it done by OTAs, and I really believe he's going to be out there for OTAs, and that's good news for everybody, right? Because the Niners have had these ridiculous holdouts, and if this deal gets done and he's there for OTAs, I think they got a much better chance to win. Whatever chance they got a much better chance if he's there for OTAs.
Yeah, I agree. I think that John Lynch yesterday spoke, Jed York spoke today, as you said, and Kyle Shanahan. All three of them made me very optimistic that this deal is going to not linger. I think it's going to get done probably before OTAs. Brock's been adamant about it, right? He said it at the end of the season at the goodbye interviews that he wants to get this done. The team looks like they want to get it done. They're all in on him. And it doesn't seem like there's going to be a lot of riffraff and negotiations, which I think is going to really set the precedent this season of, hey, your franchise quarterback, your captain, your leader, he got it done. He's ready to roll. And I think that's going to be good mojo going into this offseason, because last year wasn't a lot of good mojo. It was contract drama. Brandon Ayuk, are they going to trade him? Trent Williams said, oh, you know what? Pay me too. Trent Williams wanted to get a contract. And then Christian McCaffrey wanted to get paid. They paid him. And it was just like, oh no, who wants to get paid next? It's a lot of bad juju. And I think this year it's going to be a whole different story. And I feel like they've really addressed this whole offseason different, right? They're not spending money. They've talked about it. Jed York says, hey, you can call me cheap. I've been called worse things. I really think that the mindset this year is let's get out there. Let's prove ourselves. Everybody thinks we're done in the water, but they're very optimistic. Kyle today said, look, I'm excited to get back 2025 this year. You know, we had extra time off. It's good to rest, but we're a little bit more hungry this year. So I kind of think maybe losing last year really is going to do a lot for them because they want to go out there and prove like, hey, last year was a fluke. And, you know, the last time the 49ers had this much pressure, 2019 season, they made it to the Super Bowl. So I think that this year they're going to be a lot more they're going to be a lot more ready this year. Now, it doesn't mean that they're going to win Super Bowl. I'm very optimistic, but they still got to fix the trenches.
No question. No question about it. And, you know, and maybe wide receiver. I mean, yesterday they basically said, okay, we're not trading Ayuk. We're going to pay him this bonus. I think they probably tried to trade him, but couldn't trade him. But nevertheless, he's going to be on the team. But now the question is, he's on the team, but who's going to be your wide receiver? Because this guy can't play.
Yeah.
And he may not be able to play until mid to late November. They're saying mid-season, but, you know, I would say November is probably realistic. So you have Ayuk, but not till mid-season. You don't have Debo. You have Jennings. You have Pearsall. You have Cowing. You have Isaiah Hodgins. They just brought in Demarcus Robinson, though he may miss the first 3 games due to a suspension because of a DUI. So where are you at wide receiver? Because, and how, you know, here's my thing on the wide receivers. It's like they do need to hit the O-line, D-line, linebacker. They need to rebuild those areas and corner and a couple other areas. But if they really are going to be a contending team, they're going to have to get a wide receiver, you would think. Who do you want? Where do you go? Do you go day 1, day 2, first, second, third round? Do you go day 3? Do you trade for a guy? I even bring up the trade idea because Jed York today was like, hey, you know, people think we're not going to spend money. We're willing to do trades and this and that. And he said trades first. And I was like, whoa, are they going to make a trade? And I also bring this up because there's a lot of speculation that there could be some veterans moved around the draft. And one of them, two of them that I saw today were Chris Olave of the Saints and Jordan Addison of the Vikings. Now, you could argue they're in the same boat with those guys than they would be in right now. But, you know, if you're trying to contend this year, what's going to help you contend? A rookie receiver that you take in the 3rd round or 4th round or 5th round, or possibly, you know, trading for a young veteran who another team doesn't want to exercise the 5th-year option for whatever reason, or just finds themselves available. I'll say this: I would take Jordan Addison right now and give you maybe even something significant, compensation-wise, draft-wise. I think a guy like Addison could really be a shot in the arm for them. What do you think?
I mean, he's fantastic, of course. But going back to what they're saying is they're not going to be spending a lot. And I would imagine he'd be pretty hefty price-wise. And again, so let's go through this wide receiver situation. I honestly don't think they need a wide receiver like a lot of people do. Now, I know Brandon Ayuk's not going to be there. But listen, I told you a week ago, I don't think that the trade's going to materialize because of the fact that the injury, right? He's probably not going to be back for half the year. And then the contract, right? Today it became fully guaranteed, the 2025 roster bonus. So there's no way they're trading him. Now, there's a lot of speculation. You can put all that to bed. I think they're really expecting Ricky Pearsall to be a big-time part of this offense. Now, last year, you know, a lot of people doubted the pick. I was one of them. I was like, wow, they could have had Cooper DeJean. But turns out might have been a blessing. You get rid of Debo. Brandon Ayuk's not going to be there for half the year. So I think Pearsall is going to really have to step up. He got shot last year. When he came back, he flashed a little bit. He looked good. So I think Pearsall is going to step up. Juwan Jennings last year was an absolute dog at wide receiver. He was number 1 receiver. You know, he played the X. He looked like he could be the guy. He looks like he's working to get even better. He's on a contract year. George Kittle now becomes a bigger target for this offense, which last year he was amazing. He still got some prime left. He still got some juice left in him. maybe they get another tight end in the draft because they've been really looking into tight ends in this draft. You go get 2 solid tight ends now in your offense, and that could be a boost. And then the key is Christian McCaffrey. When he was in this offense a couple years back and he was healthy, I mean, he was a receiving threat. So I feel like that is the guy that's going to have to step up, and hopefully he's healthy. They got Isaac Orendo, and not to mention, again, I want to go back to Ricky Pearsall. He could probably take a lot of what Debo was doing last year and replace him, in the slot and, use some of those slant plays that Debo would do, slant and go. So I'm expecting a lot from Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing. Nobody's talking about him. I think he can really step up and have a bigger year. And yeah, they'll probably draft a wide receiver, Larry, but a rookie wide receiver, how much are you going to expect out of him? I think he'll come in and, I listened to what Kyle was saying, and he says, they can draft a guy, but it's going to be hard to replace what Debo specifically could do because he was a one-on-one type guy. Like, yeah, you could get a guy that could play in the slot, but Debo did a lot of stuff. He was a playmaker. They definitely can get another weapon, but I feel like this offense has really a lot of what they need. They just might need to get a few more people to kind of help and, add a little bit more element, maybe a speed guy, maybe a slot guy, maybe another wide receiver, or maybe another running back. But I don't think they have to go all out for another weapon. I'm okay with them getting a nice receiver in the draft because how much is another option going to really help this team? I feel like they have the pieces. I'm really all in on Jennings, man. I think he's going to go and have a heck of a year. He should have had 1,000 yards last year in 15 games had it not been for some malarkey at the end of that last game, but and Ricky Pearsall, going to be a lot of pressure on him, but I expect him to step up. Honestly, it's just going to come down to, can they protect Brock Purdy? And that to me is the biggest issue. And listening to Kyle today, Larry, I don't know about you, but it doesn't seem like they're really going to draft a lot of offensive linemen for starters. They might get a swing tackle, maybe a guard. I think they're all in on Jake Brendel.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say about what they're saying about their offensive line. I mean, yeah, they're making it seem like, hey, they love McKivitz. They love Brendel. And then there's these people out there that, it's the old saying, stats lie and liars use statistics. I can find a stat that will tell me that anybody's good. If you want to dig deep enough, you can find a stat that tells you that anybody's good. The reality is that, and I had this earlier today when I talked about it on a live stream, the 49ers, according to PFF true pass set grades, okay, the 49ers this year were PFF's true pass set grades for 2024. The Niners had the second worst grade at the center position last year, according to PFF. The Niners center was graded a 40 last year. The league average is, let's see. It looks like the average is 61 or something like that, and they got a 40. So, yeah, I mean, that's not good. I mean, so it's like, is Brendel good? Then I've had other people say, well, Brendel had this stat and that stat, and he was second best on the team and this and that. So you're telling me that Jake Brendel, who PFF rated as like the 34th best center in pro football, that PFF doesn't know what they're talking about, and that your stat is vitally important, and we're all wrong when we think that Brendel isn't very good. And really, there's some secret football stat that says that he's fucking awesome.
It's terrible, though. You watch the film.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there are people who can pull up numbers that will say that Jake was having a good year, but I didn't think Jake was having a good year.
No, I didn't either.
Okay, so I'm looking at some of the things. Brendel did have the third lowest blown block percentage among all centers last season. Okay. So he didn't blow a lot of blocks. Okay. He was also tied for third in points earned and wins above replacement. So,
I throw away the analysis because I've been arguing about this earlier today. Rich Madrid, you've seen him. He said, "I don't know ball" because I said that. I can't believe John and Kyle love Brendel. Listen, Yesterday, John Lynch said, they like Jake Brendel. He said it multiple times. We've heard some reports a couple weeks ago. I think Matt Burrow says they think he's the bee's knees. Today you had Kyle Shanahan say Brendel's good, this and that and the other. Listen, they might like the guy. I think they just want to be cheap at the position, and if he can do the things they want him to do, they're going to be okay with it. Like, I think their bread and butter is if he can run in that zone blocking scheme, he's okay. But you watch the film. There's times where he's standing there and not doing a damn thing, Larry. Like, there has to be better centers, but the problem is they didn't invest in free agency, so you're not upgrading there. And rookie center in the draft, are you going to find a rookie that's better than him? And then today, so Kyle Shanahan said that Matt Hennessy is not going to be able to compete with, like, he's not going to be able to beat him out. Like, he doesn't think that's competition. I thought that was going to be the case. Like, okay, you have Hennessy, Drake Nugent, Nick Sikel. These guys that are on your roster that you've had for a few years apparently aren't better than Jake Brendel. So what does that tell you? They haven't really done enough on that position. So to me, I guess he's their best option, but to me, that's not a good enough option, because that was the guy they had for years, and Brock Purdy's running for his life. So,
well, I mean, your head coach has stopped trying to run the ball on the goal line. He stopped trying to run the ball in short yardage. Why is that? I mean, you can't run the ball to get a yard when you need a yard. Whose fault is that? Is that CMC's fault? Is that Juice's fault? Is that Brendel's fault? Is that Pooney's fault? Is that Banks's fault? It's one of those guys. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's not my fault, and I'm pretty sure it's not your fault, and I'm pretty sure it's not Demo Lenore's fault. You know what I mean? It's like, so somebody tell me, you football geniuses that know all. If Jake Brendel is so amazing, how come the Niners can't run the ball on the goal line? How come the Niners running backs are getting destroyed running up the gut, running between the tackles? How come the 49ers can't run? I'd like to know that. I mean, before we sit there and run it all back with, the same older fullback, the same older running back, and the same replacement level center, is it possible that one of these positions could be upgraded? And if it isn't possible, then what does that say for the Niners chances? If you can't upgrade, you couldn't run the ball last year at all up the middle when you needed to. You could not run. You stopped trying. So why? I need to know why. If you're telling me it's not Brendel's fault, that's fine. Whose fault is it? I mean, let's play a game. Who the fuck's responsible? You can't run. I mean, it's like, sometimes it's mind-numbingly stupid listening to some of these comments. It's like unbelievable. So Brendel's awesome. Juice is great. Everybody's great. Why can't you run?
You won 6 games with all these great players.
You won 6 games with all these awesome Hall of Famers.
Jake Brendel, man. And Chris Forster, like, he was literally giving him a BJ. He was giving Jake Brendel, like, oh my God, this man was talking about Jake Brendel, this and that. Listen, maybe
7 things that Brendel's superior at, compared to everybody else. It's like, dude, if I got to listen to that speech one more time, I'm going to puke.
I know. And to me, this is the biggest thing of the 49ers offensive line that I've noticed. So John Lynch yesterday, when he talked, he said, listen, Trent Williams is going to be back. He's going to be healthy. They're banking on Trent Williams being there for the whole season. And I love Trent. And yes, when he's on that offensive line, it's a whole different unit. But he's going to miss a game or 2 or maybe 3. He's getting older, and he might roll his ankle. He might get a hamstring, stiffness and stuff. Like, you can't just bank on Trent Williams playing for the full season. And if he does, great. Next year, he might not be there. They have to prioritize this O-line, not just for this year, but for the future. So that's why I think getting a blue chip left tackle is smart. But I think they're going to look into it and say, hey, we'll get a swing tackle. Maybe that swing tackle could be a starter next year. I just don't think they're putting enough. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're going to look and draft and they get like all this offensive lineman. We're going to be like, oh, wow, they really are. But just reading between the leaves today with what Kyle Shanahan said today, I think they're going to go heavy on defensive linemen and maybe get like 2 offensive defensive line. They're going to go heavy on defensive line and maybe give you 2 offensive linemen, a guard and a swing tackle, because he even said left guards up for grabs, maybe Ben Barch, maybe Spencer Burford. Maybe they draft a guy like Purdy they did last year. So I don't know. That's the way I see it. And Niner fans might not be happy.
Well, I mean, this is the lying season, and there is a whole what do you expect him to say? And if they come out and say, man, we badly need a left guard, then every left guard that is approaching as they are about to pick, it's going to be like, somebody's going to be like, well, if you want to trade for that guy, the Niners are going to pick him. You might as well, you're giving away a little bit too much of your intentions there if you come out and say, we need this, we need that. But it's also possible that we don't see it the same way they see it. Because ultimately, a lot of Niner fans thought they were going for a safety a few years ago. They didn't. A lot of Niner fans thought they would go and build up their defensive line, and they really haven't. So who knows? I mean, it's really anybody's guess as to what their needs are. Kyle did say today that he's excited about Mac Jones.
Yeah.
What did you think of? He's excited to work with Mac Jones. This one's going to be interesting. I kind of think Mac Jones is I think this is going to be a good thing for the Niners and a good thing for Purdy. I think it will challenge Purdy. It will give the Niners a better backup quarterback. And I bet you anything Mac Jones will be effective playing in this system. What's your thoughts on what he said today about Mac Jones?
Yeah, I mean, you could tell he's liked Mac Jones since he said it. He goes, we've had a relationship even after the draft. Like we talked, I told him everything after the draft, why we didn't draft. Like he's been upfront with Mac, and now he finally gets an opportunity. Like you could tell Kyle has always really liked Mac Jones, and he's now getting an opportunity. And I think this will turn out good for the 49ers. They get a good backup in case anything does happen. Hopefully it doesn't to Brock. You get a guy that I feel Kyle is confident that could come in and win a few games if needed. And I think it'll help Mac Jones because he's never really had stability. He's with some bad teams here and there. I mean, which is often the case for young quarterbacks. Similar to Sam Darnold, right? He came with the Niners kind of like a reclamation project. He goes in there, and maybe next year Mac Jones can get a solid job somewhere else if he doesn't stick with the Niners again, like Sam Darnold. And then he can rewrite his own story because he came in as a first-round quarterback, and now look at it. It kind of fell apart. Sam Darnold was a first-round quarterback, and now he's got a much better opportunity. So I think this will be good for the 49ers. I think Kyle is, over the moon for Mac. That's a guy he's wanted for years now. And I think he's happy that he finally got to get him. I think it made him feel better because they really messed up that whole draft class. And, and now he gets to really teach a guy that he's happy with. And if Kyle's happy, I think that's better for the whole team mentally. I mean, I just don't think he's been in a good space for the last couple of years. You lose a Super Bowl, you make it to NFC Championship, you lose. And you could tell, man, he looks weathered. I mean, you saw him up there on those videos. He looked rough, and I think it's taken a toll. And now maybe he is happy, and it's a lot of pressure on him this season. So I feel like whatever they got to do to keep Kyle happy will be better because head coaching's tough, and I can only imagine the mental anguish it is. So if he's happy and it's better for him mentally, I think that's good for him. So yeah, I'm happy Mac Jones is quarterback too. I was all about it. People were crashing out that night when the announcement came, but I was one of the few. I don't know if a lot of people there agree with me, but I was one of the people that said I'm all aboard. I think when me and you, we went live a few weeks back before free agency, and he was one of the guys I said I'd be happy if the 49ers get him. I said like Flacco, Mac Jones, and I was happy when they got him. So yeah, I'm not upset about it.
No, I think it's good. I mean, if you challenge Brock Purdy, I think you're going to get the best out of Brock Purdy. And then at the same time, Mac Jones might be able to run this offense. And if Shanahan wanted him originally, somehow got convinced to go for Trey Lance, who knows? Maybe he sees something in Jones, and I'll say this: it'll be nice to see Jones operate this offense well. There's a lot of people in New England who think he's not very good, but he was pretty good as a rookie. He just wasn't very good as their talent eroded and the coaching talent eroded, and they started using defensive coaches on the offensive side of the ball. Then he had a year backing up Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
I don't know that I want to see him but I do think he'll be good to challenge Purdy. Shanahan was asked today about spending on Luke Farrell, who only has 36 catches in his 4-year NFL career. Niners signed him to a 3-year deal for $16.2 million to serve as the backup behind George Kittle. He was asked about the investment, and Shanahan said the Niners suffered after losing Charlie Warner in free agency, and then Eric Saubert jumped to the Seahawks last week. Charlie Warner signed a 3-year, $12 million deal with the Falcons last offseason. He said we really needed that number 2 blocking tight end. And there's no question. I kind of think this might be a really great move from the standpoint of, if you don't make this move, you have George Kittle, and then you have Tongas, Pline, and Willis. They're all kind of receivers over blockers. So that means that you need to invest a pick in this draft on a tight end who can block. Now, with Farrell in the fold and Kittle and those other guys, now if there's a tight end that you really are intrigued by at any point, even if he's a receiver, because there's some really intriguing guys. The guy Elijah Arroyo from the Hurricanes is like a jumbo wide receiver. Tyler Warren from Penn State is a very much like a receiver. There's some special tight ends. Now, if they want, they could go for one of those other tight ends because they have the blocking tight end position, solved with Luke Farrell. So I, as much as a lot of people didn't like that signing, and I understand it because nobody's really heard of him. But you got to get George Kittle out in the pattern, especially if you're not going to have Debo and Ayuk in the first half of the year. So, and you got to have somebody who can block, and to ask a rookie to step in, it's like, that's pretty much an unknown. So getting a blocking tight end, getting Kittle utilized as a receiver, and maybe, opening the Niners' minds to, maybe a higher end tight end in this draft. Maybe those are all good things.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Kyle Shanahan desperately missed a guy like Charlie Warner. Like, he did a lot of underrated stuff blocking, and it would allow George Kittle to be utilized in the passing game more. And as I said earlier, George Kittle's going to need to be leaned on more because you don't have Brandon Ayuk for most of the season. You don't have Debo. You're hoping that Ricky Purcell could take that leap. Jawan Jennings is there, and you're hoping he could take another leap, and Jacob Cowing. So there's a lot of unknowns. George Kittle's a baller. Now you get a guy that can block. I don't know if he's as good as blocking as Kittle, but if he's 90%, 80% what Kittle could do, fantastic. And Kyle's missed that from tight end position last year. None of those guys other than Kittle could block with the blood nickel last year. And, you have a bunch of guys that play tight end, but they're not relatively good. And now Kyle can go and get someone like Harold Fannin Jr., who's having a top 30 visit. Like, this guy is a baller at receiver. He's not a blocker, but he's going to go out there and he could be a weapon. And what do we say? Instead of getting wide receivers that are veterans or spending money, you need to build through the draft. And a guy like Harold Fannin with George Kittle on the same offense, are you kidding me? That opens up so many possibilities. So, yeah, it wasn't a sexy move, but it was the move that Kyle – and you said it, Kyle said it. Now we don't need to invest a draft pick on a blocking tight end that's just going to sit there and block and not catch. So now you can go actually invest one of these draft picks, your 11 picks, on a lineman, on a D lineman, on an edge rusher, on a player that might actually contribute to winning ball games, where this guy can sit back, block, do his thing, and all is right in the world. So I think it was a very underrated signing. I know initially people were like, you paid how much for a guy that has like no catches? But when you look back and you realize it's replacing a guy like Charlie Warner, who had a role on this team, not a bad move. So I understood the explanation, and I kind of really already knew, but not bad. I think if they can get a tight end like that, like Fannin, I mean, can you imagine this offense be a lot better?
Shanahan addressed the JP Mason move too. He said, I didn't want to let Jordan Mason go. Jordan's a very, very good player, but it was just with the price, with the backfield and where that was going with everything, and having to tender him as a 2, knowing he wouldn't get taken and where that price went. We had to do that financially.
Yeah.
So, that was his thought on that. It's interesting. A buddy of mine was asking me a couple of days ago, it sounds like the 49ers are going to draft a running back and maybe even a running back on day 2. And the Niners are even have like the 4th best odds of drafting Genty out of Boise. Now, I don't think they're going there. But I wouldn't be surprised if they went running back in round 2, maybe round 3,
Yeah.
Especially when you do the mocks and you look at the guys who are there. I bring it up, Raj, because somebody was asking me, of the backs, which back do I think fits the 49ers, right?
Okay.
And so I had to think about, okay, what is it that the 49ers really like in their running backs? Well, they definitely like speed. I mean, not every running back is fast that they draft, but they had Mostert, they brought in McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell ran 4.33 coming out of Louisiana. They like speed. They like speed because they like guys who can get to the edge in the outside zone. So they definitely like guys who can run. They definitely like guys who can catch. Bobby T is a militant about the fact that you're not going to get on the field unless you're really, really dependable as a blocker.
Yeah.
Unless you can pick up blitzes and block for your quarterback, you're not going to play for the Niners. So you got to have speed. You have to have experience. You have to be able to block, and you can't fumble. That's the other one. The Niners have no stomach. I mean, one of the reasons I think they moved on from J.P. Mason is he fumbled. He fumbled quite a bit. The reason that Kyle Shanahan loved Elijah Mitchell is that he was a great back to finish with because he fumbled like once his entire college career. Yeah. So I think I've got a pretty good handle on which running back the Niners are going to go for. And I think it's Travion Henderson of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Here's why. Travion Henderson only fumbled one time in his entire career. People were saying, hey, Jaden Blue from Texas. Jaden Blue's got 9 fumbles in his career. That's a lot. That's a lot. Travion Henderson has 1 fumble in his entire career in like over 500 touches. He also is the only running back in all of college football this year to average over 7 yards per carry, to have over 1,000 yards rushing, to have over 250 receiving yards. His 145 rushing attempts were the least by a player who cleared the 1,000-yard plateau. He's a 5'10", 210-pound back. He ran his 40 at 4.43, which was 92nd percentile. Wow. So to me, this is a guy who can catch the ball out of the backfield. I saw an interview the other day where they said he was the best blocking back in the draft. He's 92nd percentile as far as 40 time goes. Very productive player. Has the speed, doesn't fumble, can catch the ball. I think he's their guy. I think Travion Henderson is going to be their pick. I know a lot of Niner fans are like, oh man, I'm not another running back high. We need offensive line, defensive line, this and that. But I think the hidden need for the Niners is really running back because it's a run first offense. You don't have Mason and you don't know about McCaffrey. So you need to draft a running back that if by chance McCaffrey plays 2 games and is done for the year, you're still covered. So that's a pretty good running back that you need. And I think Travion in round 2 could be exactly what Bobby T wants, because Bobby T, you got to catch, you got to be fast, and you got to block.
Yeah, no, 100%. I definitely think they're going to get a running back between day 2 and 3. I mean, maybe second round, but I think third round for sure. And a lot of people will be upset, but they do, because you did lose Mason. And like you said, Kyle said, it's $5 million. Price is too much. And you can get a rookie running back and spread the money out 4 years, 3 years, and it'd be a lot cheaper investment. So definitely needed. Isaac Brendel, good player, but he's never had the high volume, and he did kind of get a little hurt last year. And 49, Kyle said it himself, they go through 4 running backs a year on this roster. Let's be honest. They get banged up because they run so much. And as much as we love CMC, you got to protect him. And, who knows where he is in terms of his recovery. He says he's healthy. Everybody thinks he's good, but we thought that last year. So you need to get some insurance, and getting a guy like that would be great. I like ETN, running back too. There's a lot of running backs in this draft, Larry. I just know that the 49ers, if they don't draft a running back in those first 3 to 4 rounds, I'd be surprised. I think they will. I think they need it. Run first team, you need insurance for Christian McCaffrey. Grendel, like I said, good. But you need at least 3 running backs on this team that can come in and be a difference maker. Kyle said today, they need playmakers on this team. They need guys that can make a difference. You don't just draft guys to draft them. You need a hit on this draft. You have 11 players. They didn't do much in free agency other than special teams. They have to get guys that could come in and make an impact. You've been saying that all offseason. You just can't get a bunch of guys. You got to get guys that could come in and make an impact, because this is a big year for Kyle Shanahan. He's got to prove he can coach. He's got to prove he can get young guys that can come in and make a difference. They did it last year, and it's got to continue this year. Because what did they say also is, when they first started and they took over this team, you had guys like George Kittle and Fred Warner and Greenlaw, and they were building through the draft. I feel like they kind of got away from that, and they need to get back to that. Also, they made some bad picks, so they got to get back to picking.
I totally agree with the notion they need playmakers. Yeah. They absolutely do. And there's a lot of playmakers in this draft. I think it's a great draft for running backs. I mean, there's 25 guys. I mean, there's a lot of good running backs. Really a major, fantastic year for tight end. And I think there's even some sleeper wide receivers. If I say one playmaker you'd like to see the 49ers come away with this, between a tight end, a running back, a wide receiver, is there one player that you're like, you know what, I'd love to see them come away with this playmaker?
Yeah. There's the guy I really am just like hoping they can get, because he's so dynamic, and this is what the 49ers need, is a dynamic player. I like Savion Williams, man. I'm such a big Savion fan. He's got speed. He can play inside. He can play outside. He can do a little bit of everything. And 49ers are that team that needs a versatile guy that you can plug him in anywhere. I feel like he would fit the 49ers offense in terms of being that like spark plug type guy, that, that tone setter that we were missing. So I wish they can get Savion Williams. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's better players, but I feel like he's the type of guy that just fits the Niners type of system.
I'm going to give you two names that are really, they're day three running backs that I think are both really, really exciting.
Okay.
One is Brashard Smith from SMU. He's relatively small, Raj. I mean, he's 5'10". He's 195 pounds. That's just, mediocre size for NFL, an NFL back. But he's a running back, not a receiver, but he's really electric. And he's kind of like, he's a guy that I think you could almost play as a receiver, because he's really just a weapon. You know what I mean? He's explosive with the ball in his hands. His name's Brashard Smith. And they're picturing him to go somewhere in the 150 range in the draft. And I really think a guy like that's super explosive. The other guy that I'm a big fan of, the more I watch him, is the big power back who plays for Michigan, Kalel Mullings. Did you ever see Kalel Mullings?
Yeah,
he's a 6'2", 225-pound back. Not a big cutter or a lateral agility guy. He's kind of a home run hitter. He's a one cut and go, back. He's a great athlete. He was their best back at the end of the year. I mean, this guy's a powerhouse. He's from Boston. He went to the Milton Academy, 6'2", 233 pounds. Two-time academic, all Big Ten. He looked so good in that game against the Buckeyes in the Horseshoe. I just think that, that's a guy that, Kalel Mullings might be a 7th round pick, a 6th round pick, but he's a big, strong, powerful running back who can run through people. He's a guy that really is intriguing to me. Yeah. One of the things that I heard today that I did like was that the 49ers plan is to bring in a veteran kicker to compete with Jake Moody. Jake Moody struggled this last year. He converted 24 of 34. Which basically means he made 24 kicks and he missed 10.
Yeah.
And he cost the Niners many games. All missed field goals came from 40 yards or longer. He came back, it was really, he got off to this good start. Then he had this injury where he had the high ankle sprain. Then it seemed like they kind of rushed him back. I interviewed him the day before or 2 days before his first game back. And he told me he was still having a little bit of pain right at the point where the ankle was sprained. And he said it was right on it where he kicks.
Oh.
He didn't think it would be a problem. But then when he came back, he really, really struggled. I like this kid. He's a good kid. He's not squirrely. But you know what? No more. You can't go with that kid straight. He's got you. You know, Nick Folk is 40 years old. He was just cut. I'd bring in Nick Folk. Bring in a 40-year-old kicker. Bring in a 35-year-old kicker. Bring in that veteran. And if the veteran looks better than Moody, go with the veteran. Do not go with I don't want to see them go with Jake just to protect their third round draft pick investment. Screw that. It's a sunken cost at this point. Go with whoever is more consistent this summer, but have a real competition. And I'm hoping they bring in a decent veteran kicker. And I got to be honest, I'd like to see them go with that decent veteran kicker over Jake this year. What do you think?
I was Larry. The first news I woke up to today. I wake up 6 a.m. logging in. I'm like, all right, what's the news? I know people are up. They're in Palm Springs. It's a couple hours ahead. I said, all right, here we go. First thing I see, Larry, Jake Moody is getting competition better. I was like, oh man, they're gonna eat this up. I know Niner fans were hyped up to. Let me tell you, I think they are going to go with the veteran at the end of the day when it's all said and done. The way Kyle talked about it, he was like, look, if Jake Moody can't be respectful to a guy that's coming in that's capable of taking his job, they're serious about this. They said that they're looking at kickers already. They're looking at prospects. They're looking at veterans, the most likely going with the veteran. If he cannot respect a guy that's good enough to take his job, he shouldn't be here. And I think that's Kyle Shanahan's way of saying, look, I know I messed up. I'm not going to make the call. I'm going to let Brant Boyer, our new special teams coordinator, make the call. And I've been saying this all offseason. What's going to happen is they're going to bring in the veteran. The veteran's going to be better. He's going to be more professional in the clubhouse. He's just going to be a better vibe and a better fit. And Brant Boyer's going to say, look, Jake Moody's a good guy, but he's not my guy. I'm sticking with and whoever they pick. I think there's a lot of options. Nick Folk, there's Rodrigo Blankenship. There's options out there. And those guys, they won't have as much pressure as Jake Moody, who is a good kicker. He's talented. I watched him in Michigan, but the problem is it's in here. Mentally, he is done with the 49. He needs a reset. When he misses a kick, the Niner fans are going to continue to roast him day in and day out. He can't deal with that. I feel like he just gets coddled a lot, and he just doesn't have just doesn't have confidence, Larry. And I think this is the best news that's going to come out of this whole, off season. Is you've been getting rid of a lot of players that didn't help you, got rid of a lot of special teams people, you got rid of a lot of coaches, and Jake Moody's going to be the final nail of the piece of the puzzle that they get rid of from that 6-win team. And I think it's going to happen. They're going to bring in the guy, and we went from quarterback competition, Larry, to kicker competition. I can't believe it, but I was so excited hearing that news. I don't care who it is, as long as Jake's off the team and you get a kicker that can actually do his job.
Raj, I'm going to show you two clips that are both very dominant clips. Have you centered on who you want yet for the 11th pick overall?
Honestly, I think it's going to be a defensive lineman. I feel like I've honed in that it's going to be a defensive lineman, but I haven't figured out who I want it to be because there's a lot of talent.
Do you want a tackle or an end?
I want an edge. I think edge would be a little bit.
Okay.
You need to get both somehow, because I looked at the defensive end, depth on this team. I feel like there's more defensive tackles that you can get in this draft. It's a little bit more heavier defensive tackle wise, and they can get some run stuffers. Like they got a guy like DJ Jones a few years ago. He was a 6th-round pick. I feel like the 49ers can get solid defensive tackle help in this draft. I mean, Evan Anderson, he's going to be on this team, and he's going to make this roster, and he was undrafted. So I feel like they will do a good job of getting defensive tackle help. But
which edge do you want? I mean, Abdul Carter's going to be gone.
Yeah,
so you're choosing probably between Shamar Stewart, Texas A&M, Mikael Williams, Georgia, Mike Green, Marshall, Donovan Ezeraku, Boston College, James Pierce, Tennessee, and probably Nick Scorton from A&M, maybe even Landon Jackson from Arkansas if there was a trade back, or Prince Umamalian. But those are the top guys. Of those edge guys, Stewart's the biggest, most freaky athlete. Mikael Williams, a great athlete as well. Mike Green's smaller, but he's got an array of moves. Ezeraku's the shortest of them, but he does have crazy long arms and ridiculous agility. And then James Pierce is a freakish athlete, but he's, a little linear, a little thin.
Yeah.
Who do you want out of that group? Or
I know
do
my
you,
Yeah. So based on those guys, I mean, I like Shamar, but I think he's more of like a combine hype guy. Although he could be a guy that turns out and becomes great in the league. Like his combine, now that they're comparing it to like Myles Garrett. So I see the hype on him, but traditionally looking at his film, looking at what he did productive wise in college, it just wasn't enough. To me, if I got to pick between those guys, I want Mike Green. He also had a great, combine and Senior Bowl, and he kind of started going up the ladder, but he was good.
he's got an array of
He's got
spin
a lot of
moves.
moves, and I think on the
Yeah.
opposite side with Chris Kasurk and Salah, I feel like he'd be a twitchy guy that could just blitz. You need a guy that could be like a Ferrari in this defensive, right? If you're going to run that wide nine, and I feel like Mike Green fits that system well. So to me, out of those guys, I'd take Mike Green. I feel like he's a solid pick there. I wouldn't be mad with Shamar Stewart, but I feel like he's kind of like that raw that you're hoping he can hit the potential that you're banking on from the combine. Whereas Mike Green, I feel like he has a little bit higher ceiling.
I like all these guys a lot, but to me, I like the idea of Olufemi Oladejo in the second round or the third round. And I like the idea of going tackle up front. I'm going to show you one clip from Kenneth Grant from today. I put out this earlier today. Now this is Kenneth Grant. Here he is right here, big number 78. And he's just going to do a little arm over. But look at the explosiveness. This is 6'3", 330.
He's a monster.
This guy's a monster. I mean, swim. Look at that. I mean, just to me, this is the kind
like
of monster.
Michael Phelps over there, my guy.
I think this guy is so indestructible too. It's just he's such a big, wide body mover. I mean, I think in some ways he's the blue chip interior player of this draft. I don't understand why Kenneth Grant is down in the 30s. To me, he should be, in the top 15 picks for sure. And this is exactly why. And this is the kind of thing that I want to see from the Niner defensive front. I mean, they need that. What you're
I wouldn't be
right
mad
there.
with that pick, Larry. Yeah, that's a fantastic pick. And if you think about, Robert Salah, he had in with the Jets, he had a guy, Quinnen Williams, who was just devastating up front like that. So yeah, they can get a guy like that with Bosa. I mean, it's just as good as they pair him with an edge on the. So I couldn't be mad at either one, defensive tackle, edge. I just feel like because there's more edge or there's less edge talent, I feel like I'd want to get a blue chip edge first, but I would not be mad at a guy like that, defensive tackle like that.
The other one is that I got to show you, because it's also an amazing highlight. Let me back out of this highlight so you can see this other one. So that was Kenneth Grant. Here is this is Walter Nolan, and this is an explosive play from Nolan as well. Watch this. Make this a little bigger. Okay, so here's Nolan playing right. He's circled here. He's playing right defensive tackle. Look at the bull rush on this. This is an amazing strength moment.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
I mean,
crazy,
that's
dude.
beastly right there. Look at that.
Dude.
And that's like me or you getting thrown back.
Bro, it's like he threw him into next year. Dude, that's like if I lined up against you, you would throw my ass.
Look at that. Look at that. I mean, that guard is probably about 6'2", 320 pounds or something. And he just you know what? Put a arm in his chest and just waltzed him. I mean, he just threw him back. He just
can he do that consistently with like every down play? That's the problem. Is I feel like that's his knock is can he play consistently over the course of the game? But a lot of those guys, they play in the next level. Your endurance, your conditioning is going to be a big question. But Walter Nolan's a monster, man.
Yeah, to me, it's Walter Nolan or Kenneth Grant. And to me, I'm looking at the mocks. Most of them have, Walter Grant, 15 to 25, and they have Kenneth Grant like 20 to 35. And so where the Niners are at 11, I think this kind of sets up perfect for them. I mean, they need more picks. They need more depth. To me, it's like you trade back a few spots. You pick up maybe an extra third, maybe an extra fifth or sixth. You pick up a couple extra picks. You move down from 11 to 14, 15, 16, 17, anywhere right there. And that's it. You go with a Walter Nolan, or you go with a Kenneth Grant to start your draft. You come back with an Oladejo. I think I would probably try to do the offensive line later, especially listening to the Niners. If they really don't feel like there's a lineman that can step in for McKivitz or Brendel, then why force it in the first round? Why, I don't need to have a first round offensive lineman on the bench. I'd rather them go with a defensive lineman that plays. Yeah. Where is linebacker in this whole thing with you? Because I mean, they clearly, one of the things that's come out in the last 24 hours is they made an 11th hour push to go get Dre Greenlaw. Now, I'm a cynic. Okay. I'm a skeptic by nature. And I think John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan got on that plane, not because they thought they could get Dre Greenlaw, because if they didn't get on that plane, the rest of the locker room would be like, what? Yeah, you guys let this guy out of here without making a full. So they needed to be able to look their locker room in the collective face. And the only way they can do that is if they said, man, we got on a plane, we flew out there, we offered him more money than he ultimately, I mean, all those things. I mean, they're in damage control because they just let the most popular guy in the room leave. And they could have made a preemptive strike. Matt Barrows asked Shanahan about it today, and he gave him a kind of a, wordy answer about, well, we have a lot of needs and a bunch of things going on and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but you know what? Most of the guys who you had who were free agents that you let walk away weren't any good. This was the one guy who was really good, who was really respected, and it's not a surprise that you guys put the full court press on him, but it was too little, too late. And it's like, it doesn't really matter. It's like having an elaborate excuse for why you lost on Sunday. It don't matter. It doesn't matter if you have a suitable excuse. All that matters is the win. And all that matters in a free agent pursuit is that you get your guy. It doesn't matter that you flew out there in the 11th hour. It doesn't matter that your offer at the end was better than their offer at the end. I found that to be very weak and to be kind of telling. I mean, it's like, I don't think they thought they were going to get that player. I just think they knew they had to get on that plane. Otherwise, they can't look their players in the eye and say, hey, man, we just let the man get out the door. Did you guys try to get him? Yeah. Did you hear? We flew out there. We offered him a ton, I think they needed to do that for the locker room more than anything.
Oh, 100%. 100%. It was damage control. At that point, Kyle even said, we had all these priorities. So you're telling me your number one priority this offseason wasn't Dre Greenlaw. That's what it is. And in Dre Greenlaw's mind, he said, I'm not a priority to you guys. You guys could have gave me this contract 3 weeks ago. You could have gave me this contract, but you're coming here now in my house and telling me you're going to give me this contract? No, I'm already going to be a Bronco. And I think part of it was Dre wanted a fresh start. He wanted to prove that he's an alpha, that he's the Michael Jordan, not a Scottie Pippen. He's Batman, not Robin. Because that was what the other part is if he was with the Niners, he's always going to be second to Fred Warner. But I think if they would have came correct with that contract to begin with, he probably would have said, you know what? I like this contract. I can stay. But they didn't prioritize him. And the other thing that really irked me about this whole situation, which, again, is damage control, Kyle Shanahan says, when we saw the news on Twitter, you found out from the social media. Like, this is what kills me. Kyle says he's not always on social media. But he says he found out this information. He was like, we saw the news on Twitter, so we had to go. Yeah, because your team was like, what the hell? You guys didn't make a pitch to Dre Greenlaw. So it tells me he was never a priority for them, but they had to do what they had to do to, play to the 49ers locker room. Like, yeah, we tried, But to go back to your question, where does linebacker fit into this? They definitely will get a linebacker in the first I think 3 rounds. I think they go with their linebacker in round 3. If not, maybe round 4. But, they're high on D winners. You could tell John Lynch has talked about D winners a lot this offseason. Kyle Shanahan mentioned him today. Tatum Bethune, I think he's still in the mix, but I don't know if he's ready to take that leap. I think he at least takes over DFF's role in the special teams department, but I could definitely see him going after a linebacker to put some competition out there to challenge D winners, because D winners is good. He has the ability. He can run, he can hit, but Kyle even said it. He needs to put his body in a position where he can be stronger and play 17 games. So that tells me they need to make sure they get a linebacker that's out there that can play a full, 17 games. Maybe you don't lean on a linebacker, but you get a guy that could come in at some point and give him some meaningful minutes. But I think D winners might be that guy that takes that leap. But you definitely need to make sure there's a guy that can step in and at least compete and be there in terms of depth. Because if you look at Dre Greenlaw, when he first came to this team, he didn't start right away, right? They had Quan Alexander. He got hurt. And then boom, here comes Dre Greenlaw, and he saved the day. So they're going to need a guy that could come in case there's an injury with D winners and then maybe take over. But I'm still, trying to go over all that whole Dre Greenlaw situation was crazy. But when that story came out, it just seemed like it was, so convenient that this story leaked out like that. It was definitely damage control.
I interviewed a guy today who I think can be the next Dre Greenlaw for the 49ers. Okay. His name is Eugene Asante. He's the senior linebacker and team captain for the Auburn Tigers. This guy is an incredible player. And then he ran at the combine 4.48. He's super fast, sub 4.5 linebacker, 220 pounds. I asked him, if you could play with any linebacker, past or present, who would be the guy you'd want to play with? He's like Patrick Willis.
Woo!
Patrick Willis.
I love that. It's a good answer.
My good answer. Good answer. But Eugene Asante. Yeah, you look for him on the Krug show here in the next day. We'll put that out. Great guy. But yeah, I mean, smart as attack. I mean, sharp as hell, fast as hell, productive. He was every game I watched of this guy, you couldn't help but watch him. He's playing at 1,000,000 miles an hour. He's smart as hell. His brother, Larry, played in 5 years in the league. He played at Nebraska and has played in the NFL for 5 years. And this guy's a little undersized. He's 6 feet and change, 222 pounds. But, man, he is explosive. And I said to him, hey, man, if the Niners, the Niners may need a couple linebackers. I go, they're looking for their next great duo. And I said, he said, I also, have watched Navarro Bowman. So it's like, I said, the Niners had Willis and Bowman. Then they had, Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. I said, if there was one linebacker in this draft process, because you went to Mobile, I'm like, if there was one linebacker in this draft process that you would love to bring with you to San Francisco, and you guys can be the next dominant duo, who do you got? And he's like, that's a good one. He's like, I'm going to go with Demetrius Knight of South Carolina. He goes, me and Demetrius Knight could wreck shop in the middle.
There you go.
There you go. I thought that was a good one.
Dynamic duo.
Dynamic duo. Eugene Asante. All right, let's hit some supers and we'll bolt for the door. Thomas Norton, Desmond Watson, #1 pig in a pickle client. Are you familiar with Desmond Watson?
No. Who's Desmond Watson?
Really?
Yeah. Who's Desmond Watson?
Oh, I got to show you Desmond Watson.
Show me Desmond Watson.
Desmond Watson is the University of Florida defensive tackle.
Okay.
Who weighs 460.
That's the guy that weighs the. Oh, okay. I know I didn't know his name. That guy's huge. I saw the picture of the guy's he's built like a freaking house.
He's just a crazy monster.
That's Desmond. Okay, that guy's massive. Okay, he's like two defensive linemen in one.
So here's the thing. Now, they tabled the discussion about the tush push, right?
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Okay. Why you have all kinds of specialists on your team? Why not have this?
That guy's a monster. Look
This
at that guy.
guy's 464 pounds. Now, Raj, at first I thought, nah, it's a novelty. But you know what? This guy in the Florida Pro Day benched, it was a ridiculous number of reps. It was like 46 reps of 225. This guy set what would have been, I think, the combine record. Or if it wasn't the record, it might have been the most of anybody at the combine this year. This guy's got enormous strength. Hey, if you got Cam Jurgens sitting there on 3rd and 1, 310 pounds, and you've got Jalen Hurts at quarterback, and they get a first down, they're going to the Super Bowl. You stop them, you're going to the Super Bowl. I want this guy. I want this guy on the nose at 464 pounds. You wanna go tush push? Fine, tush push this guy.
Okay.
This guy's 464.
That's Matt. 464 is good. The only problem I see with the guy's strong. I'm sure he is. He's 464.
He's strong.
That's a lot of pressure on the knees. I don't think he's going to last too much in the league. Like you thought Javon Kinlaw had a lot of pressure on his knees. Seems like a risky pick. He's a massive human being.
Seventh round pick or an undrafted.
Yeah, I guess you can throw a 7th round pick on him. How many years is he going to last in the league? 464?
I'm telling you, man, you get this guy and, use him on the goal line. Run him.
The Eagles are drafting him. The Eagles are drafting him.
The fridge was 320. Or maybe
crazy.
As much as 350. This guy's 100+ pounds more than the fridge.
That's crazy, dude.
I mean, it is crazy.
Maybe you play him at center instead of Jake Brendel.
Seriously, play him at center. Ricky Williams. I don't think Brendel can stay healthy anyway. I hate to say it, but hopefully he medically retires soon. Ooh. Also, great show, fellas. Keep being the shovel through this bullshit of an off season. I have faith. Thank you, Ricky. Appreciate you, brother. A Nothing Niner says, be aggressive trading down 2 times in the first round can net the 49ers 2 third-round picks. Fill in the large gap between pick 75 and 100 and crush day 2. You know what? I think a Nothing Niner, I think that's super smart. I really do. I mean, I would target Walter Nolan or Kenneth Grant, and those guys are probably going in the 20s. If you could trade from 11 to 13 and then from 13 to 17 and wind up with, 2 extra 5ths and 2 extra 3rds or something like that, that would be the dream. You get in there around 17, 18, you take Kenneth Grant or Walter Nolan, and you're looking at a fat day 2 where you're going to have, 5 picks, 6 picks. Ooh. I mean, that's how you do it.
That'd be a good, honestly, that's a good strategy. I know you talked about that a lot this offseason. Yeah. Team trade back is awesome because the Niners can't be wasting draft picks. They need to make sure they make these count. So I think that's one way to make it count. Yeah, good idea.
Claudaddy Arcade's in the house, Raj. He said, great show, fellas. Jed mentioned trades. Name 3 players on both D and O with rookie contracts that we should pursue for day 3 picks.
Oh, man.
I don't know if I could name 3 players on each, but I would say definitely Jordan Addison makes a lot of sense. That's one.
Yeah.
Definitely Trayvon Walker makes a lot of sense to me. Why? Because I think the Jacksonville Jaguars may be willing to move on. You got to remember this. It was a Trent Baalke pick. When do teams move off of high picks? When it's a new regime. So that was a pick by Trent Baalke. He's no longer in charge there. If you could get Trayvon Walker, I think Trayvon Walker would make a lot of sense. Why? Because he's a big, talented, athletic guy. Now, everybody's kind of down because he's not Aiden Hutchinson, but that's not the Niners' problem, and they don't have to deal with that. So that's the guy I'd go for. I like Trayvon Walker.
I like that. Trayvon's good. That's tough, man. I think I said it.
Michael Mayer might not be bad.
Not bad. I know. I don't think it's realistic, but the only guy I really consider if you can get on a rookie contract still is Garrett Wilson, because we need to, if we're going to go through the whole wide receiver thing, I still would love to see if you could pull a trade with him. But I don't think you would take day 3 picks to get Garrett Wilson. You need to go up a little higher. So that's not really
It would
realistic.
take multiple picks.
Yeah.
I'll give you another name that I read that could be available, and I think he could be available for cheap, and I think he's got good value if you can get him at a cheap enough price. I think the Eagles are going to move off a big Jordan Davis.
Mm.
I think the Eagles are going to trade Jordan Davis during draft weekend for maybe a 3rd or 4th round pick, or maybe even a later pick, maybe even a 5th round pick. And the Niners need defensive tackles so bad, and Davis has so much size and so much talent. If they could get him the way they got Laken Tomlinson, who was a failed 1st round pick, and they gave up a 5th round pick, and then they had 2 or 3 years of Laken Tomlinson.
Yeah,
I'd take
good.
2 or 3 years of Jordan Davis for a 5th round pick. I don't know how eager the Eagles would be to move him, but I've heard rumblings that they may be eager to move him. And I know he hasn't done tons, but he's big, he's talented. I would be very interested.
Nice.
We got this one, Boxing Fan ×4. Did you see Bill Barnwell's all trade mock where the Niners trade pick 11 and BA to the Patriots for pick 4 and select Hunter and receive Cole Strange? I did see that just a minute before we came on here. Would you make that trade? Would you trade the 11th pick and BA to the Patriots for Cole Strange? I think Cole Strange isn't Cole Strange a guard?
Yeah.
Oh, he's saying receiving Cole Strange. I thought he meant receiver.
Yeah, he'd receive him.
So you get Cole Strange and you'd get Travis Hunter. I'll say this: Travis Hunter's a dominant number 1. But Raj said that Robert Saleh had Quinnen Williams. He also had Sauce Gardner. And that would be like the Niners' Sauce Gardner. Niners have not had a true number 1 corner, I think, since Dion. So I'd be interested in that.
That'd be fun. I saw that. I was like, okay, it makes no sense. Obviously they're not going to trade BA now. The whole situation is over. But
though somebody made the point to me that wouldn't BA be more attractive now via trade?
There's no way you trade him.
He'd be more attractive. But the point is this. Yeah, he'd be more attractive to the team that trades for him because you don't have to pay that $22 million because the Niners just paid it.
Yeah.
But why would the Niners pay the $22 million on a player they're going to trade? That doesn't make sense.
I think next year they'll entertain trading him again.
Wow. 49er_throwback says, let's go. Warriors won. Steph Curry just passed LeBron James in all-time 50-point games after dropping 52 on Memphis. Oh, I see Raj's hat. Let's see that hat today. What do you got today?
Warriors today. We had to wrap the Warriors.
Looks like a Charger hat almost.
No, it's the Warriors. It's the lighting, but it's Warriors. Steph Curry, man, 52 points. He almost got a triple-double. Draymond with the triple-double. Butler 20. That was a playoff type of win. That was a crazy game, man. Steph Curry's a legend.
God. Answer this one for me, Raj. Last question for you. I did a CBS sports radio interview this weekend. The last question they asked me was, which team between the Giants, the Niners, and the Warriors has the most pressure on them right now? And I said, that's interesting because the Giants have been, Giants are a rich team, and they have been totally irrelevant as far as the playoffs are concerned for a number of years now. So on one hand, when I think of how much money the Giants do spend and how their playoff drought, I think of them as having tremendous pressure. You could argue the Warriors because they're trying not to waste the twilight of, Steph Curry's Hall of Fame career. Yeah. But I said it was the Niners because even though, the Niners, they had their whole run, but they didn't get their ring. And so now, it's like, how long is Jed going to go with Kyle and John? Can they rebuild on the fly? Can they get that elusive 6th Super Bowl? I think it's the Niners just because of the expectations, and they haven't been able to meet them, despite the fact they've had more success than the Giants in recent years. I would say the Niners. Who do you think?
Oh, Niners by hands down. It's the Niners. Like the Warriors, they won a championship a couple years ago. Like, you want to see Steph get one more ring. but he had a dynasty. Your team is still good. Nobody's expecting you to do much this year. I mean, if they make the playoffs and make a little bit of run, it'll be fun. Yeah, I get it. Everybody wants to see Steph win, but there's not a lot of pressure on them. I think everybody knows next year you got one more chance. Maybe you can reload on a few players here and there and maybe make a run, but I don't think anybody's expecting that. The Giants, I don't think most people care about baseball like they used to in the old days. Maybe Bay Area fans do, but I don't care about baseball. People care about football, Larry. That's the big sport. The Niners have been trying to win a Super Bowl for 30 damn years, Larry. You know what?
Yeah.
They went to the Super Bowl 3 times and failed, and people are fed up. This year, they are coming off a 6-win season. Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, no more excuses. They're feeling the pressure. If they don't win this year, if they can't win 10 games and make the playoffs this year, it's a hot seat, ladies and gentlemen. They're about to pay a quarterback and make him the most expensive paid player in 49ers history. You know, Brock Purdy is going to be the highest paid player in the history of 49ers coming up when he gets paid this year. It's a lot of pressure, Larry. It's the 49ers without a shadow of a doubt.
We didn't talk about Brock Purdy in this live stream, but, you know, it's pretty clear listening to Jed, listening to Kyle, that, you know, this whole group of people that are rooting for trade Brock Purdy, go get this guy, go get, just stop. Just stop. They're not going and getting anybody. He is their guy. They are going to get it done. I would say they get it done probably within the next month. I think Brock Purdy is going to push to get it done. There's no way in hell Brock Purdy is going to allow Mac Jones to lead this team at the beginning of installs coming out of the draft. So I say Brock Purdy will make his agent get this deal done before. He'll take a little bit less to make sure the deal gets done. I know Lynch is saying, well, it may get done, it may not get done. I think he's just being cagey. I think it does get done. I think Purdy gets $50+ million, and I think it gets done before the Niners OTAs.
This is my prediction. Draft day, breaking news announcement. 49ers will sign Brock Purdy on draft day, day one. Breaking news. And it's going to be the talk. Niners always steal the headlines, Larry. The Niners are going to steal the headlines on draft day, and they're going to sign Brock Purdy. You heard it here first. Brock Purdy, contract extension on the NFL draft. Woo! Everybody's going to be talking about the Niners. Who cares about the number 1 pick, baby? Brock Purdy will become the most expensive paid 49er in the history of the franchise on draft.
There you go. Some people are like, no. Other people are like, yes. Either way, let's get this done and get on with the season and rebuild this football team and compete for that Super Bowl. I want to see it done. And it can be done. It's going to take a major draft, but it can be done. On the way out the door, one of our sponsors is LearnKey Upskill Academy. And thanks to LearnKey, we're doing a little contest. We're teaming up with LearnKey for a special April NFL Draft Selection Challenge where you can predict the top 12 picks in the 2025 NFL Draft for a shot at winning a $100 Visa gift card. It's totally free to enter. Just fill out the Google form linked in the description below with your predictions for who gets picked 1 through 12 in the upcoming NFL Draft. Entries will be graded on how many correct player-to-pick matches you get. First place, you get a $100 Visa gift card. Second place is going to get a $50 Visa gift card. Plus, both winners will get to come on the show during draft weekend on the Krug Show. So hit the link. Lock in your draft board and let's see who really knows their stuff. Good luck and big thanks to LearnKey Upskill Academy for sponsoring this contest. So there you go. If you think you know who are going to be the top 12 picks in the upcoming NFL Draft, enter the contest. It's free to enter. And if you're a winner, you're going to win a $100 Visa gift card. If you finish second, you're going to get a $50 Visa gift card. All courtesy of our good friends at LearnKey Upskill Academy.
Nice.
All right, that's going to do it. Raj, what do you got cooking the rest of the week on your platforms, my friend?
Whatever news is out there. I've been working a lot, so whatever we get, whatever news comes out, we'll post it. But I've been busy. I haven't been live as much as I usually have been. But hopefully we get back to live. I've just been working for the man, making money, saving money. Yeah, doing what we got to do.
Embrace the grind.
Yeah.
All right. That does it for Raj. I'm Larry. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
Yeah. Never met a man I've been scared.